And this is really one of the most creative trail fixes I have ever seen. Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch and what is another day in the life of a Land Rover Hoarder, which is a little bit of a series that is the behind the scenes of what is happening here at the Lost Cause Ranch. You know, the things we're doing when we're not building things like the LR4 truck or the lightweight or messing with our 6-wheel Land Rover, that one right there. But today is a critical day in the history of the Lost Cause Ranch. That is right, we are getting prepped to move into our new shop space. Those of you that have been following along know that we purchased the car wash a little over a year ago and we ran out of space in it before we even moved in. Now we just found ourselves a little more space, much needed space. And what we're doing today is getting ready to move into that space. But as you know, I created quite a mess around here. So before we move, I do have to take care of a few things. You know, some chores or something like that. You know, some chores or something like that. So we obviously have quite a bit to move around here. And the biggest challenge of that is trying to decide what to move first. Now I'm trying to go in with a little bit of an semblance of organization in the new place, but that'll probably get thrown out the window. So let's just do a little eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think we'll start with the X mod. Got to get the steering wheel out on this one. All right, so the X-Mod is all ready to go. We're gonna make a trip down there without it first because we gotta make a game plan and we have a tiny bit of cleaning to do. It's not bad, but I just wanna get everything tidied up before we start packing it full of junk. And by junk, I mean high quality Land Rovers. And since we're gonna be moving a load of stuff, I figured what better thing to use than the 6x6 with the 9-foot flatbed. We'll be able to haul so many Land Rover parts right there. But there's one thing that has annoyed me about this guy, and that is the mismatched front tire. Well, I guess the tire matches, the wheel doesn't. Good news is we have a couple spares back here to remedy that. Some sticker tires. Put the freshies on. I feel like I'm in NASCAR. Let's put a set of sticker tires on it. I mean, 6 tires. This is gonna corner so good. All right, so being we're gonna be moving, I need to get a couple things sorted out beforehand, namely the Risco Disco Part 2, which hasn't been quite as fun as the Risco Disco because we haven't used it. But this is the one we bought for the bumper. There is a couple other things we need to grab, like the rear axle, because it's got some sort of limited slip differential, supposedly. Maybe a locker, hopefully. I'm hoping a Detroit. I'm guessing it's gonna be an ATB. But either way, I don't wanna move stuff like this that's gonna get thrown away anyways, especially being we got most good stuff off it. So we'll try and be responsible, Joe. And tear this one apart beforehand. That way, instead of hauling it down to the new place and then hauling it out to the scrapyard, we can just go right to the scrapyard. Which is a shame, you know, because it's super nice. The other super nice thing is, it ain't got no park. See, right now we have it in park, and I can still push it around. But if you remember last time we looked at this, trying to figure out what kind of differential it has in the rear, it is like that because it has a broken axle. So, broken axle without the center diff locked and open front diff means it'll roll wherever it wants to go. So So now we just got to decide what else to take off it besides the axle. We'll probably grab the sway bar quick disconnect setup that it has, along with the shocks and springs. Don't know what they are, but we do have an inverted shock up front, so something half decent. And in the back here, we get to see just exactly what happens to these old Disco 2s in salt country. This has a repair splice on it already, but you can see it's blown through there. Pretty much non-existent there, blown out under there from the rust, so this is pretty common on these around here. Get the drive shaft out of the way. We'll just add that to the drive shaft collection that's already in the back of this thing. Looking at more and more stuff, there's really not a whole lot we're gonna grab off the bottom of this. It's just pretty used up. Being it doesn't have any sort of re-gear in it, we'll probably just leave the front axle in. We have enough of them laying around. It's got aftermarket cats, so I really don't care about those. We'll grab the transfer case out of it though, but I think that's gonna be it. Besides the rear axle, everything on this thing is just caked in mud. Well, this side's not quite as bad. The transfer case is gonna be interesting. We got like gunked on mud and oil combo, which is kind of like glue. I'm really curious to see what we have going on here on the front of the radius arm. That is some sort of science experiment. We got rubber gloves and a boatload of zip ties. I don't know, do we make a bushing? That's the kind of creativity I like in life. Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They made their own bushing. Oh, I thought we had that one done. Now we're good. Now we can get to that bolt. So the rear axle's just about ready to come out. All we have is whatever this oddball ratchet strap is back here, and the lower shock bolts. We just need to zip those out and this guy will drop down. So what I'm gonna do is set it on a couple jack stands and then we'll figure out what to do with it from there. We do have a plan for that though. Normally I would just manhandle it around by pure Joe strength, but we're gonna do something different this time. So stay tuned. Yeah, we were pretty close. Man, it's gonna be nice to have some more room. Even though I bought a small motorcycle, it still takes space. To be honest, I have no idea what's gonna happen when we undo this ratchet strap, or even if we'll be able to. I guess I kinda understand what they were doing now. This has to do with the rubber glove situation. So they're pulling back on the side that had the bushing come apart. This guy was an alignment fix. Crafty. I don't know if that's exactly how I would have chose to do it. It also is probably junk, so I think we're gonna have to cut it and try not to kill ourselves in the process. So we had to reposition the hoist arms out from underneath the radius arms. This isn't the safest way to lift it, but it's gonna let us get the springs out of there. So we got the springs out, which means we can lower the body down onto the jack in the rear, taking the weight back off those rear hoist arms, and we'll be able to swing those back to where they were before. We got the radius arms swung down. And this is really one of the most creative trail fixes I have ever seen. That's something. It's pretty wild. Let me know down below what your most creative trail fix has ever been, because that is one of the top ones I've seen. That's some good stuff right there. All right, back to being very much less sketchy, which is good because we almost have the transfer case ready to come out. We just need to do the inside stuff, which involves pulling all the linkage. So this is not an 04, but it was converted over to having all the center lock diff linkage and shifter in there. So we'll rob all that back out. We're also gonna take this guy out. I love those little things. That's swell. We got some screws in there, which is fine, but someone went to town with some pop rivets as well. Fun. If we get this top plate that goes on the tunnel out of the way, we have plenty of room to get at everything we need to. From the top here, we're going to undo the little transfer case shifter tower off the transmission. We can get to our top two bolts. I guess it's a bolt and a nut. These ones you can get to from down below, but it's much easier from up here. And we just need to push the parking brake cable through its little hole. We got a little bit of wiring to undo as well. All right, so the transfer case shifter and linkage is out. We got all the wiring undone. This thing is ready to slide out from the bottom. This thing is definitely worth keeping. Before it goes, we're also gonna grab all this center stack stuff as well. So hopefully the radio works. The 6-wheeler needs one. I like the factory one. I just want FM. This would be a tiny bit easier with a transmission jack, but I don't have one, so this is how we're gonna do it. And now we have it there. What to do with it from there, I'm not quite sure. All I seem to be doing is just keep piling and piling headaches on. Soon enough, that'll stop, hopefully. Hopefully it'll stop. I mean, by my track record, there's a good chance I just make a bigger headache with a bigger spot. But no, a dressed up LT230 is somewhat heavy, and I don't know if I want to throw my back out getting it off the table. So we might need to get this out of the way to do something with that. This seems like it might do a better job at lifting than me. I was trying to buy some other shit and I just didn't get any. Could have just ran up with a pickup truck and no trailer for wheels, but. Well, and then you go and you look and I'm like, well, the two trucks that were restored didn't have nice looking engines, so too many things to operate. We'll just set that behind the car wash for now. I want to figure out what's in there, but I want to get that Discovery out of the shop before we worry about that. But by golly, that is nice to use. I sure have missed having a forklift around, and unfortunately, this one is not mine. It is the gentleman who purchased the car wash. He said he'd drop it off for me to move out, which was awful nice of him and is gonna make my life quite a bit easier. Although I'm guessing that was more of a, hey, hurry up and get out of here. No, he's a nice guy and it makes sense for this to just stay here because he'll be using it to move stuff in shortly after we're out. We'll be able to check in. It'll be kind of neat to see what happens to the car wash after I'm gone. So I think we're just about ready to get onto the trailer. With this guy, we grabbed a little bit more stuff out of the engine bay that we're keeping. We just have the front shocks and springs to grab, but I think I'm gonna do that on the trailer because I don't want to deal with blocking everything up because I want this side to roll. This side we'll have to get creative with. Clean up my dirt mess that we created. But speaking of trailer, there is still an X-Mod on it. We haven't unloaded that at the new place yet because we haven't started moving anything into the new place yet. I don't really feel like offloading this just to winch it back on after we dump the Disco. But the good news is we're gonna go start cleaning some stuff up down there so we can start making that moving part happen. And hopefully we'll catch that on the next video here and you guys get to see the new place for the first time. But Ted and I also have to run and grab some Defender parts we just bought. So, I don't know. I just keep making my life more and more chaotic. But you guys get to follow along. You know what? Guy should have bought another one of these a couple years ago instead of buy stupid stuff like that.